She's alleging a 12-year affair with you.
That allegation is false.
You know, I'm not sitting here as some little woman standing by my man like Tammy Wynette. I'm sitting here because
A light fell off the wall and nearly hit them.
You know, an average person. Jesus, Mary and Joseph.
It's like karma itself was reaching from the ether to grab them. Hillary Clinton, a woman who never served in the military, married a draft-dodging pervert. One of these quantities, and by the way, on the pervert piece, I'm saying that somewhat as an absolute fact. The presidential picture of Bill Clinton has the stain, has a semen stain in it. The artist thought it was appropriate, seeing as the relevance it had to his presidency. So when I say pervert in this case, I mean it as an absolute. Clinton attacks Tulsi Gabbard, a woman who did serve in our military and who had to go to duty recently for that military. And she attacks her in a way that's rather disgusting, right? I mean, ultimately, she's trying to say that Tulsi Gabbard is being groomed by Vladimir Putin to run as a third party. Again, a woman that has served in our military being attacked by a woman who has a draft-dodging husband and herself never served. Beyond that point, I want to go to another question. Life. Secret of life. The answer is 42. I want to get to a slight different point, though.
I mean, that is the land of...
How do you feel on your best day? And how do you feel on your worst day? Meaning, how do you feel when you're joyous? When things are going absolutely well, how do you feel when they're not? When you're in pain, when things just absolutely suck? We, as a society, kind of assume that the other person feels the same way. And as such, we codify into law a certain value of life. If somebody broke into a house, killed somebody, if that person is caught, we would prosecute that person. And if that person is poor, they will probably spend the rest of their life in prison. We do that because we have some value of life. Question: why does that value leave the moment that you leave the shores? Meaning, when I leave this country, how does that value leave? When we're dropping bombs and we're killing people, how do you think they feel? Meaning, on your worst day, being set in flames, what is that feeling? Can you even process that? The Iraq vote that Hillary Clinton made wiped 1 million people off of this planet and set the Middle East in flames. And Libya, I hate to tell you this, is on fire and has been on fire ever since with roving gangs. Listen to how she responded when they sodomized Gaddafi. And again, Libya has been a fire pit of roving gangs.
Unconfirmed.
Yes, we came, we saw, he died.
Did it have anything to do with your visit?
No.
I've never seen her happier. That is a moment of joy. And that is a moment of joy in a situation where you could buy this guy that has a gun to his head for $400. What is the quantity and the value of life? What is the value of life, and why does it leave when you leave our shores? Secondary point. The person who she's attacking and calling a Russian asset, she is calling a Russian asset because, unlike Clinton's perspective of the world, Gabbard, who has served in the military, who has put on the uniform, comes back, like many people come back and say, war's a racket. We're not doing this for the defense of ourselves. We're doing this for geopolitical and economic reasons. And in doing so, it is not to the best of us. And, to be honest, it's an outright betrayal of the individuals who are brave enough to subordinate themselves to the country and serve in the military. That's the value of one person, meaning the perspective of one versus the perspective of the other, who, for whatever reason, believes she has a God-given right of being able to knock over other governments. Tulsi Gabbard, at this point, I suppose, has no fucks to give. And she responds in a blistering response to Hillary Clinton calling her a Russian plant. Let's talk about it, because her response is at this point gone viral. And I love it. No fucks to give. And I also, let's start there first. Welcome to the Soapbox. My name is Jamarl Thomas. This is the Progressive Soapbox. Guys, if you dig this content, please like, share, subscribe. You can always support PayPal Patron. Soapbox After Dark. I can't sleep. It's like 2:30 in the morning. I'm wide awake. Everybody else is asleep. Let's do the news. Tulsi Gabbard sends this response back. Blistering, white, hot phosphorus. Great. Thank you, Hillary Clinton. You, the queen of warmongers, embodiment of corruption, and personification of the rot that has sickened the Democratic Party for so long, have finally come out from behind the curtain. From the day I announced my candidacy, there's been a concerted campaign to destroy my reputation. We wondered who was behind it. Now we know it was always you through your proxies and powerful allies in corporate media and war machine, afraid of the threat I pose. It's now clear that this primary is between you and me. Don't cowardly hide behind your proxies. Join the race directly. My wife said, "Oh God, don't tempt her." I said, I would love for Hillary Clinton to get into this race. Bring it. Let her cut into Biden's numbers. And not just that, let her get on the debate stage, get hit in the face over and over and over again. When the announcer brings this up, because for them, this is just ratings, and let Clinton get eviscerated on stage. Clinton is bright enough not to do that, especially in this primary, where her perspective of the world is not necessarily prized. And I would even wager to you that there will be Democrats that will be terrified that Clinton would do something like that. Yes, she has a lot of connections behind the scenes. Yes, she is still a force in the Democratic Party. Don't get it twisted. And even from the standpoint of mainstream media and in the way that they attack Tulsi Gabbard, be aware, candidates have media contacts. They have people that they leak information to every bit as much as the CIA and all these other guys. They have media contacts. They have leaks. They have people where they say, look, you should talk about this, and here's information about it. Go for it. Don't attach me to it. It hurts me if you attach me to it. You honestly believe Clinton doesn't have that? When Tom Perez came out and said Bernie Sanders was a white candidate, and then the media runs with it, do you think that the media got that in and of themselves? Some might have picked up on it after a certain point. Some may have a certain perspective of the world, but some were fed the stories. Her point is that the people who have been attacking her all the way down from Sam Cedar to MSNBC, meaning the quote-unquote independent media that leans to the Democratic Party, and the more corporate media that leans to the Democratic Party. Essentially, it's just controlled opposition. I hope you realize that. I know there's some people who watch the show that likes the Sam Cedar show, and I've learned a ton from Sam Cedar. By the same token, I fully understand that he's controlled opposition. He has said himself that he'd vote for a can of soup. Whatever he's saying now, if Joe Biden was the nominee, he will be telling you, vote Joe Biden. That's kind of my point. All of these are creatures of the Democratic Party. Of the people who backed her, Van Jones goes on CNN and says this.
She is Hillary Clinton. She's a legend. She's going to be in the history books. She's a former nominee of our party, and she just came out against a sitting U.S. Congresswoman, a decorated war veteran, and somebody who's running for the nomination of our party with just a complete smear and no facts.
She called her a Russian asset as a fact, and as you point out, sitting U.S.
A
Congresswoman.
sitting U.S. Congresswoman. Now, this is a very, very dangerous game, and there's a backstory here, and there's two sides to every story. Let's not forget, Tulsi Gabbard was picked out by the Democratic Party establishment and put at the top of the DNC. They thought she was going to be their golden girl. And she got in that position, the DNC, and she looked around. She saw Debbie Wasserman Schultz and other people, Clinton allies, doing stuff they shouldn't have been doing in the primary. And Tulsi publicly quit and then endorsed Bernie Sanders. And it's been payback hell ever since.
And that's what we are here.
Yes. Yes, he's right. It's been payback hell ever since. He's right. Yang came out, gave a statement backing up Tulsi. Trump, yes, Donald Trump still hates Hillary, or at the very least acts like it. Crooked Hillary just called a respected environmentalist and Green Party candidate Jill Stein a Russian asset. They need a Green Party more than ever after looking at the Democratic disastrous environmental program. Well, if he thinks the Democratic Party's program is disastrous, he's going to love the Green New Deal, which originated in the Green Party and was far more to the left in the context of the Green Party. Notice he never mentioned Tulsi Gabbard. Now, he's running in a race against Tulsi Gabbard, so, yeah, there goes that. But at the very least, Trump even chimes in like to not kick Clinton. Listen to the whiners or the weak defenses. Let's start with Kamala Harris. Weak defense number one. Not even weak defense, just the spineless. This is the spineless group.
Hillary Clinton said today that the Russians are currently grooming a Democrat running in the primary right now to run as a third-party candidate, kind of as a Russian asset. And it appears that she's talking about Tulsi Gabbard. You've had scuttle with Tulsi Gabbard in the past. Do you think that the Russians are grooming her to become a Russian asset? And what's your response to Clinton?
I mean, everyone is entitled to their opinion.
Anything more?
No.
Man, I greatly dislike her. I greatly dislike her. Not because she's a woman. This made me greatly dislike Castro also. So,
former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton today insinuated that your fellow Democrat Tulsi Gabbard might be a Russian asset and might be being groomed by the Russians to run for president, maybe even as a third party eventually. What's your response to that news? And do you agree with former Secretary of State Clinton that she could very well be a Russian asset?
I'm going to focus today on my campaign and what we're doing and making sure that I'm getting my vision out to the American people and leave.
Weak and spineless. Kamala Harris, at the very least, I can understand her being pissed off. I mean, after all, Tulsi Gabbard, for the most part, literally, single-handedly, in 60 seconds flat, completely obliterated any notion of her getting to the presidency. Maybe forever. Meaning Tulsi Gabbard might have locked that door forever for Kamala Harris at ever being president. So I get it. I might be a little peeved and pissed off too if I had certain dreams and aspirations that the other person ended in 60 seconds in front of a live American audience. Yes, I get it. Castro? Really? Weak. How weak? Just weak and spineless. And, you know, last but not least, where the hell is Bernie Sanders? Where is Bernie Sanders? Paging Bernie Sanders. Somebody needs to get in front of Bernie Sanders and put a mic in his face. Hey, they said that Tulsi Gabbard was a Russian asset. Are you okay with that? I would be fascinated by his answer. I wish they didn't have to fine him, though. I wish he was a little bit more. It is depressing that Sanders doesn't torch the shit out of Clinton. Take a look at this. This is the letter that Clinton sent to Tulsi Gabbard. I'm just going to read a certain part. We were very disappointed to hear that you would resign your position with the DNC so you could endorse Bernie Sanders, a man who has never been a Democrat before. When we met over dinner a couple of years ago, I was so impressed with your intellect, your passion, and commitment for getting things done on behalf of the people of America, the American people. For you to endorse a man who has spent almost 40 years in a public office with very little accomplishments doesn't fall in line with what we previously thought of you. Hillary Clinton will be our party's nominee, and you standing on ceremony to support the sinking Bernie Sanders ship is disrespectful to Hillary Clinton. Your endorsement is disrespectful to Hillary Clinton. That's astonishing. A woman who has spent the vast majority of her life in public service and working on behalf of women and families. Yes, she spent a lot of her life working on behalf of women and families. You have called both myself and Michael Knives before about helping your campaign raise money. We no longer trust your judgment and will not be raising money for your campaign. That's the letter that was sent to Tulsi Gabbard after she came out to support Bernie Sanders. It is depressing. It is depressing that Sanders doesn't say something about this. The woman who failed to reality show host, who's literally responsible for the deaths of at least 1 million people because she did make that Iraq war vote. And even if you don't want to say the Iraq war vote was more diffuse, at the very least she was directly responsible for Libya This man does not have a good life. Hillary Clinton made that choice. And it's not just him. Thousands. That entire country is in flames because of a choice that woman made. One person says, let's stop these wars. And the other person says, you stopping those wars and stopping the regime change for geopolitical and economic ends helps Vladimir Putin. Ergo, you're a Russian bot. I mean, this stuff is nonsense. It's such a shallow argument. If I'm a Putin puppet, then you're a supporter of terrorism. If that's the stupid way we're going to argue and talk about this, fine. You're a terrorist supporter. I mean, because after all, if you want our troops to stay over there, then our original reason for being over there was to take down Assad and use the terrorists to do it. So fine. I want to get our troops home. You want them to stay forever. Fine. But just to be very clear, me bringing the troops home has nothing to do with Assad. It has everything to do with those troops don't belong there. It's not their country. You have to come up with some reason, often humanitarian, in order to justify murdering a large number of people. I hate to tell you this, humanitarian bombs don't particularly exist. It's not like the bomb dodges the people who are good people. The bomb hits everybody. And in many cases, we often don't know who we are killing. That's Clinton. The other person says, let's stop that. I would love for Sanders to come out and say something. And something to the effect that torches the hell out of Clinton and burns it down. His political opponent, Elizabeth Warren, and I get it. I get the politics are weird. Because for him, he doesn't want to touch this stuff. But look at the letter that she was sent. She literally could have just said, I'll support Clinton. Let's rock. She didn't do that. She came out to support you and put herself on the line. I guess the question for Sanders is, do you say something in support of the person that this other creature who lost a reality show host and is married to a draft-dodging pervert that has a cum stain on his presidential portrait? Do you come out and say something about that? That is the worst aspect of what the Democratic Party is. Do you say something in support of somebody who is being smeared as a Russian agent? How can you not? How can you not? You say you want a revolution, right? Do you realize that over 20% of Clinton supporters didn't vote for Obama? Those people hate your guts. The only Democrats that I know, like people who are full bore into the Democratic Party, hates your guts. They hate your guts. And you're going to step and fetch it for these people in a way where you're terrified of saying something? You should say something. And I find it bothersome that you don't have the balls to do so. Unless, I haven't seen it. I've seen nothing from Sanders in support. Weak. Xavier Foster. Something for later. Jeff Zucker's wife has attended multiple parties with Ghislaine Maxwell. Interesting. The Kabai ties are coming to CNN. Ghislaine and Harry. Oh, that's interesting. Reeve Barker. Yang Williamson, Robert Francis. I thought Beto said something. Ben Crenshaw, all supportive of Bernie. Oh, no Bernie. But haven't seen anybody defending Stein. Well, I just showed you somebody. Donald Trump was defending Jill Stein. But no Sanders. I get... Look, if I am in a campaign and I'm in a contest, they say you always see more stuff on the side of the board. What you think of as a threat is often magnified when you can be hit by it. Meaning, when the fist can come your way, you think a little differently. People can say all sorts of stuff when they're anonymous online, less so when they're in person because they can get their ass kicked. There's a difference in those things in regards to result and consequence. I get it, that it's a little dicey because you have people who hate you and they've been using a sexist line and all this other stuff. But that's not really about that. She put herself on the line for you. It's bothersome that you can't do it for her. And I got to be honest, I don't even think it's putting yourself on the line. Even though I know in the context of a campaign, it may look that way. Torch her. Your candidate, or the person who you're running in a race against, is using her and her assets to help her run. They have literally constructed You're essentially running against the same forces you ran against in 2016. One difference, one market difference. They've constructed a person who looks like you in order to take the wind out of your sails. And they have that person running. And Clinton is backing that person. Torch her. Torch her. Burn the entire shit down. And I would even make the argument, run against your own party. When you were on the debate stage, one of the strongest lines was when you hit the party itself saying you guys don't have the guts to do X or Y. And if you could just take their money, essentially saying, if you're just going to be corrupt, then what's the point? She's the queen of corruption. Hit her.